All right, hey guys, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump right into it. So, when I had made a video that was 2 weeks ago now, we're talking about doing a series, and I was thinking of trying to do it every day, but then I was like, wait, hold on, these worksheets actually take some time to do, and I don't want there to be way too much stuff out there every day, because then it's just like an overflow of information. And so I was thinking, instead of maybe doing each one of these every week instead, and maybe I'll start ramping it up more towards the end. But I'm going to do one of these at least every week, and then also try to ramp it up at some point and crank out a lot more of these. But this is a series on all things Algebra 1 Kuta worksheets. Basically, whenever you go to the URL thing at the top there, and you click on it and you type in like worksheet on blah 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 blah, which is what your teacher is doing when they want to quickly pull up a worksheet on something that they are going to need for class, and then give it to you, the student, to do. That's what they're doing. That's what this is. So these are all just the worksheets that your teacher's looking up to give you for work. So this one here is on order of operations, which means, PEMDAS, right? So if I do PEMDAS off to the side here, let's see if I can write off to the side. Let me zoom this in. There we go. So PEMDAS. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And nobody ever says why we're supposed to excuse our dear Aunt Sally. I don't know if you've ever wondered that, or if you've ever heard that acrostic. But I always just imagine like Aunt Sally is farting or something. Like, excuse Aunt Sally, she can't control her farts. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. She just can't control those farts. So anyways, this stands for parentheses. Parentheses. And then exponents, little baby numbers. Multiply. Multiply. Divide. Add, and subtract. And that's pretty much all the things. There are some other operations, but they usually fall under parentheses, which is why I have, I believe, a whole video on GEMDAS, or, solving and the order of operations of solving. But I like to use PEMDAS still because more people are familiar with it, and because until you get on to other subjects besides Algebra 1, you don't really deal with other types of operations besides add, subtract, multiply, divide, and maybe some exponents. And that's what this worksheet's on. Those things. So what we do is we work on parentheses first, meaning we go inside the parentheses and we look for PEMDAS. Again, it's like Inception. So Inception, we're looking inside on number 1 right here. Well, there's only one thing to do inside that parentheses. Just add. So that's what we do. We actually add first because it is inside the parentheses. We are into the dream layer of Inception. 6 plus 7 is 13. Then there's nothing else to do inside the parentheses. So we come out of that parentheses, and then there's no exponents, no little baby numbers. There is some multiplying to do, so we do that. 3 times 13. Now, the cool thing about multiplying is if there is no carrying, so for like a little bit smaller digit numbered things, if there's no carrying on that first digit, then you can actually just multiply each number. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Boom, 39. You can go from left to right if there's no carrying. It's the same thing, actually. So let's change the color each time, because why not? I'm going to green this time. 5 times 3 times 2. Well, that's just multiplying, right? So it doesn't matter which one you do first, because it's all just multiplying. I like to multiply the things that are either 5 and 2 because it makes 10. Right, it's really easy to multiply by 10. I like to do that. Or I'll leave the 2 till the end if I'm multiplying a bunch of numbers together, because multiplying by 2 is just doubling it, and it's usually easier for you to kind of double numbers in your head. So 5 times 3, we'll do that way. 5 times 3 is 15. Times 2 is 30. That wasn't so bad. Okay, next. Change the color again. We'll just kind of go through the whole spectrum of colors here. We'll do like a lighter green this time, and then we'll do like maybe yellow next. So PEMDAS, no parentheses, No exponents, no multiplying. There is some dividing. 72 divided by 9 is 8. And then plus 7. 8 plus 7 is 15. Or 15 in Espanol. Next up, I promised yellow, and we are delivering here. 2 plus 7 times 5. Ooh, I do not do 2 plus 7. I'm not going to do 2 plus 7 because that's adding. I'm going to do multiplying first. So multiplying 7 times 5, 35. Boom. 2 plus 35 is 37. So that is the answer to that one. Okay, let's move down. So if I remember my kindergarten coloring class, I believe orange is the next color on the spectrum here. So we can do adding before subtracting. You don't necessarily have to. You can actually get the same answer either way. Let's kind of look at that because adding and subtracting are kind of the same with PEMDAS. Now if I do 9 plus 8 first, it's 17. 17 minus 7 is 10. Okay. If I do 8 minus 7 first, I get 9 plus 1. 8 minus 7 is 1, and then I get 10. So look, you get the same answer either way, which is why sometimes with PEMDAS, go back to that blue color there. With PEMDAS, I like to do this. It's really parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, like either one, because they're kind of two sides to the same coin. And then adding and subtracting are also like two sides to the same coin. So you might be wondering, wait, well, why doesn't exponent have some other thing that's like the same sided coin thing or whatever? Well, it kind of does within itself. Exponents is actually like a broad term. There's actually 3 different kinds of exponents, but the 2 that you might be familiar with are little baby numbers, little powers, and then roots, like a square root. A square root is a kind of exponent. It's the opposite of a power. So those 2 things are like multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting. So it's kind of like there's 2 things up there in the exponents as well. And you can do them in any order you want because they're both considered exponents. So, and then parentheses, right? So parentheses is kind of just, it's not really an operation. It's more just like, hey, we're about to go into this guy's dream and mess him up, or at least attempt to. So that's what that's all about. So anyways, after orange, we'll do like a red-orange. Did we do red-orange already? This is red. Maybe like a red-orange. Orange. So we do PEMDAS. Please excuse my deer. Oh, hey, deer. 32 divided by 4. I believe that is 8. Because 8 times 4 is 32. And then 9 minus 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. So we have 1 for that answer. All right. So now we do red. And PEMDAS again. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay, well, now we have parentheses again. So we'll do the parentheses. There's only one thing to do inside the parentheses, so I don't really have to, order it around yet until we get to later on. It looks like we're going to have to do some actual PEMDAS work inside the parentheses. Some actual work in the dream layer. 10 minus 1. I think that's 9. Yeah. 5 times 9. I believe that's 45. 45 for that one. Ooh, what comes after red? Purple? Yeah, purple. Why not? Okay, so parentheses first. 4 plus 4 is 8. 48 divided by 8. Parentheses. I did it. It's done. After parentheses is exponents. None of that. Multiplying. None of that. Division. Some of that. Hey, 6. All right, I wonder if there's a better purple here. Because I don't know if that was like actually purple. What color was that actually? I'm kind of curious now. Magenta. Oh, they're getting fancy. I don't know if you can see my pinky. That's fancy right there. Magenta. Violet. Oh, and then we have purple. Oh, okay. Wow. All right. How about we just go straight to purple? We'll just go straight to purple now. Okay. Now we've got like a double layer of parentheses here. Okay. So this is like going into the second dream, like the guy's dreaming about his dreams or whatever, right? Like some real Inception stuff. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to go watch it again to understand what is going on here, because PEMDAS is the real world. Then inside of P for PEMDAS, you have the first dream layer. Right? When you go inside somebody's dream and you try to mess with what they know and have them divulge their secrets. Then, if that doesn't work, you have to go inside of their dream layer where they're more willing to divulge their secrets. And so then you have another PEMDAS, and there's no end to how many layers you can go, but the deeper into the layers you go, the more likely you are to get stuck. So be careful how many layers you go into somebody's dream world. Or PEMDAS, for that matter, because, the more layers, the more math, and then just more things to keep track of, because that's a lot of PEMDAS. Did I spell that right? Doesn't even look like I spelled it right. Maybe because I wrote it smaller each time. But anyways, we have inside of the parentheses, this is the first parentheses, right? Then you have the second parentheses, the extra dream layer, okay? So there's no extra dream layer. 10 minus 8, that thing is in this. That's the 10 minus 8 right there. Okay, so there's no parentheses inside of that. No exponents, no multiply, no divide, no adding, just subtracting. That's what I do first. 10 minus 8 is 2. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy everything else. And I don't need the parentheses, at least not the parentheses that was around the 10 and the 8, because I'm done. It's 2, don't need the parentheses. Okay, so we're done. We went inside of the guy's dream layer and messed him up and came back out. Now we're still in his dream layer, but just his primary dream layer here. So again, we're done with the parentheses because we already handled that. We did that, just by getting rid of that right there. Okay, so then there's no exponents, right? Little baby numbers. No multiplying going on here. No division, no addition, just subtraction. Look at that. Let's see a pattern here. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then we're done with that dream layer. We're done, which means I can cross out the P. Done with all the parentheses. We don't have any more parentheses. There are no más. So then, of course, we go down the list again. So no exponents, no multiplying, but there is some division. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So 10 is la respuesta. So we have the answer is 10 for that one. Okay, so that was pretty crazy. There was 2 dream layers there. And remember, they can make it pretty crazy because there's really no limit to how many dream layers your teacher can create if they want to get real crazy. Real cray-cray. So then, let's see here. I believe that would be a good in-between color for blue. So we'll do that one. So like not purple but not blue, but somewhere in between here. And again, PEMDAS. PEMDAS. We do have a parentheses thing right inside of that P for parentheses. We are in the dream layer here, but there's only one thing to do, so I don't write it all over again. It's kind of a waste of time. 5 minus 3 is 2. Boom, done. There goes that dream layer. All right. And come on, make a dot. There we go. So parentheses, done. No exponents. Oh, wait, circle P and then cross it. That way you can see that we did do a P thing. We're done doing the P thing. No exponents, no multiplying, but there is some division here. 40 divided by 4 is 10. Oh, I almost made a division thingy. Make the dot go away. Where's my eraser? Eraser time. Haha. Joke's on you. Okay, so 10 minus, 2. 10 minus 2. Okay, so then we're done with that. No addition, but there is some subtraction. 10 minus 2 is 8. Aha, there we go. Okay. Now that we've gotten a few more of these under our belt, I'm going to kind of speed things up just a little bit. And then when we get to ones that have like parentheses, and we haven't dealt with that kind of parentheses before, actually let's do this kind of color blue. I like that blue. We'll just kind of go through here, right? So 9 plus 9, 18. Remember, I can do adding and subtracting together, so 6 minus 5, that's 1. There we go. 9 plus 9, 18. 6 minus 5 is 1. 18 plus 1 is 19. Final answer. 5 plus 16. We do that first because it's inside the parentheses. 5 plus 16 is 21. 21 divided by 7 minus 2. Okay, 21 divided by 7, that is 3. Minus 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. That's the answer. Boop. Notice I used blue for 2 of those, so I guess I'll use that same pattern here. I guess I should use a blue-green. But you know what? I'm like blue-green blue-green kind of colorblind, so this actually looks really blue to me, this teal color. But apparently it's not, because everybody used to tell me I had a teal truck. And I was like, it's my blue truck. And they're like, no, it's not like blue, not all the way blue. It's like mostly green, actually. I'm like, no, it looks blue to me. But anyways, tomato, tomato. 10 times 5 is 50. Big facts. Plus 10. Plus 7. We're just plussing some things here. 5 plus 10. Or sorry, 5 plus 1 is 6. So 50 plus 10 is 60. 60 plus 7 is 67. All right. And here we have some PEMDAS. And it's a little bit different, but remember, adding and subtracting is two sides of the same coin. I can do them in any order I want, so it doesn't really matter. So I'll just go ahead and just kind of put some of this together here. 6 plus 25, that would be what, 31? 31 minus 7 would be 24. Check it anytime you need to borrow and you're subtracting, right? Borrowing while subtracting, you want to be careful with. Just add it back real quick to make sure it's all right. So 24 plus 7, okay, that would be 31. Right, so just be careful with that, because that's it's an easy thing to trip up on. And I forgot to write that divided by 6, so I was so entrenched in the parentheses here. 24 divided by 6, that is 4. Also, speaking of generalizing, which I wasn't already speaking of, but I was thinking of it, so I figured I would kind of take a small segue here. When you're looking at all of these answers, notice none of the answers are decimals or fractions, right? All of them. I'll go back here just so you can see that no decimals, no fractions. No decimals, no fractions. All just positive. Actually, I think they've all been positive. I haven't even seen a negative number here. Have you seen a negative? I haven't seen any negative numbers. So notice that pattern. Whenever you're looking at a worksheet and you do stuff on a worksheet and you're getting certain kinds of numbers, you can expect to continue to get those kinds of numbers. Now, a negative number, I might not be so weary about. I might not be like, oh, that's so weird, it's a negative number. That's not that big of a deal. It's negative, so maybe that's a yellow flag. But if I started to get a fraction or a decimal for an answer, I would be very careful, and I would red flag, go back, check your work. Because notice we haven't gotten any negative numbers, or decimals, or fractions. Now, the reason why I'm not as upset about possibly getting a negative number is because a negative whole number is not that much different than a positive whole number. It's just got the little sign on it. So it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But a fraction or a decimal, that's like a way different number. That's like a crazy number. So we haven't gotten any crazy numbers, and we shouldn't expect to get any crazy numbers at this point. So if you do, then you know you did something wrong. Go back and check your work, right? Use that to your advantage. Work smarter, not harder. You can know that you did something wrong if you're getting an answer that's way different than what you've already been getting, all right? Hack the system. Hack the system. Okay, so number 15. I'm going to do parentheses first. 6 minus 4 is dos times 49 divided by 7. 2 times 49. Oh man, what is that? Well, if you don't know, remember, multiplying and dividing, you can do either one. So if you can divide first, that makes the number smaller. If you don't know what 2 times 49 is, which it's 98. But just kind of thinking like, okay, well, if you're not sure, then divide first. 49 divided by 7, that's 7. 2 times 7 is probably a math fact you should know. 2 times 49 really is 2, kind of, maybe, depending on where you're at. But 2 times 7, everybody should know that's 14. At this point, if you are in high school or middle school, middle school, I don't know why I said middle school, but if you're like, 7th or 8th grade, maybe is what I meant by that, then you should know that. You should know what that is. 2 times 7, that's 14. Okay. Here, there's a little trick, because 7 times 5 is 35. 35 divided by 5 is 7. But if you notice, times 5 divided by 5, I'm doing the opposite operation. The opposite operation. If you have solved an equation at some point, then you know that in order to get rid of a number, you do the opposite operation. Meaning, you identify what's going on. Identify the operation. Is it add, subtract, multiply, divide? What is it? And then you do the opposite of that to get rid of it on both sides of the equation. But this is not an equation. It's still happening, though. I'm multiplying by 5 and then dividing by 5. They cancel each other out, and the answer is 7. That's how you can do it. Now, of course, if that seems a little weird at first, don't take my word for it. Just go ahead and multiply it out. It would be 7 times 5 is 35. 35 divided by 5 is, look at that, 7. Little trick. So if you see that you're adding 5 and then subtracting 5, well, then you're adding 0. If you're multiplying by 2 and then dividing by 2, you're not doing anything. Okay, moving on. We did green. That is straight green. So let's do a not straight green. That is, oh, that apparently is green. Oh man, I'm really bad with colors. I'm sorry, y'all. My colors are bad. I thought this was like a normal green, but apparently this brighter green I'm about to use is regular green. Okay, so 17. Let's take a pause here because there's something tricky going on here, y'all. Check this out. We are dividing. You see that division sign, that fraction bar? That means we're dividing. But we're not going to divide first because, remember what I was saying earlier, how GEMDAS sometimes makes more sense than PEMDAS. Because G stands for grouping. A division bar is actually a type of grouping, which means that I do that first. So 43 minus 1 I would actually do first. This is like a parentheses. It's like there's some parentheses there. You're like, how do I know to put parentheses? You don't need to put parentheses. I'm just showing you that this is how I make the segue from using GEMDAS to using PEMDAS. Okay? This is a type of grouping. If you have a division bar, it's a type of grouping. You have to do all the math on the top and on the bottom first before you divide. It's just how it works. So we want to do 43 minus 1 first, which is 42. The answer to life, the universe, and everything. By the way, 4 plus 2 is 6. Still plus 10. 42 divided by 6. Now I can do that. So I just did parentheses. I did parentheses on the top, and I did parentheses on the bottom. I did 2 separate parentheses. There were no exponents. There was no multiplying. So now I do division. 42 divided by 6, that is 7. 7 plus 10 is 17, which was addition, by the way. And there you have it. Okay. So, remember, parentheses first. So 8 plus 5. 8 plus 5 is 13 times 35 over 5 plus 6. Now, I could divide 13 by 5 if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because that would make no sense. It doesn't even go in evenly. Instead, I'll do 35 divided by 5 first. I'm doing division first because I don't want any fractions or decimals. If I try to divide 13 by 5, I'm going to get a fraction or a decimal, depending on your preference, I guess. The lesser of two evils. But 35 divided by 5, that is 7, and I am sorry I said that so fast. That was like a one-word sentence. 13 times 7. Ugh, what is that? Do you know your 13s? I actually don't know my 13s that well, to be honest. So I'm going to multiply this one out here off to the side by hand. 3 times 7, 21. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. That would be 91. And then plus 6, which is 97. So that is the answer. Okay, what comes next after this light green? Apparently this, which is a grass green. But in my opinion, this is not really green. It's like a light greenish yellow, or at least it looks that way to me. So I think after greenish yellow comes yellow. That's how I'm going to roll. 2 plus 3 plus 4. What is that? 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. So that's that. I just did PEMDAS. I did parentheses first in PEMDAS, I should say. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9. 2 plus 3 plus 4, therefore, is 9. 27 divided by 9 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Boom. Whoa, we have a parentheses inside of a parentheses, because remember, this is being grouped together. I have to do all of that first before I can try to divide 45 by whatever's down there. So we're going to do this. We're going to say 5 minus 4. Well, that's 1. So that's 8 times 1 minus 3. That's 8. 8 times 1. 1 times any number is that, any number thing. So that's 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. Okay, so All of the bottom stuff is 5. I left alone the top. I didn't want to rewrite that every time. That would be annoying. But it's still there. 45 over 5. So apparently 8 parentheses, 5 minus 4 parentheses minus 3 simplifies to 5. Who would have thought? And then 45 divided by 5 is 9. 9 es la respuesta. So then we go to number 21. Okay, back to orange. I believe this is, oh, that's gold. Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm going to stop using this color scheme eventually and just start using like tertiary colors, because I'm basically just like running through the color spectrum here. So maybe I'll stop with this orange here, and we'll start doing tertiary colors and get real fancy. Pinky's way up. Can you see the pinky? Pinky's way up. Okay, so 15 divided by 5. Oh, but I don't do that first. I do PEMDAS first. 5 plus 9 is 14. Okay. 8 times 15 over 5 minus that. Okay, so remember, I can do 8 times 15. 8 times 15 is going to be a really big number. I can do it. And actually, let me teach you a little trick. That is on another YouTube video that I put out on tricks to multiplying. The trick to multiplying by 8. Are you ready? You take the number, the other number, not the 8 number, and you double it, and then you double it, and then you double it one more time. Okay? Because multiplying by 8 is the same thing as multiplying by 2 times 2 times 2. Multiplying by 2 is doubling a number. So if you want to get a number to multiply by 8 and you don't know what it is, take that number, the not 8 number, and, well, double it. Double it 3 times. So it's not that bad. I could do it, but why? When I know that 15 divided by 5 is in fact 3, and I could just write that instead. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 minus 14 is 10. Okay? Now I could double it if I wanted to. So 15, double it, 30. Okay, double it again, 60. Double it one more time, 120. And then I would have to take 120 and divide by 5. Can you see how it's way easier to divide first and then multiply? So it's really like PEMDAS instead of PEMDAS. But PEMDAS just rolls off the tongue better, so it just, normally works out that better. But if you can divide, I would divide first. Unless it's going to give you a decimal. And then don't do that, because decimals are gross. But if you can divide first, before multiplying, that is, I would do that. I think that'd be easier. Now, if you did do the doubling trick, 15 doubled is 30, then doubled is 60, then doubled is 120. 120 divided by 5, the trick to dividing by 5 is to slash a 0, 120. Okay, so slash a 0, 12, okay. And then you would double it. So 12 doubled is 24. 24 is actually what I got after I multiplied 8 by 3. But you see how that's way easier to divide first? Okay, so anyways, moving on. 9 minus 4, that's 5. Okay, so remember, I'm doing that first because that is a type of grouping. It's a type of grouping. 9 minus 4 is 5. Okay. So really, actually, I can do 2 of these things at once here. Because if you check this out, that's multiply. And that's divide. So I can do both of those at the same time, actually. They're independent of each other. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 minus 2 is 12. Final answer. Lock it in. Okay, so tertiary colors. Let's get crazy here. Or we could just do shades of gray. I guess we could do that. We use black, and then we'll end with like the lightest shade of gray, because I'm not dumb, and I do know that if I try to write with white, it's not going to show. Unless I use a black background. Ooh, okay. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see if we get there. I think we're almost done here. So let's see. PEMDAS. Oh, wait, hold on. Remember that opposite operation thing? 2 plus 2 minus 2? Get out of here. 10 plus 2 is 12, minus 2 is 10. Just slash it. Just get rid of it. Plus 2 minus 2? Pff, wasting my time. So that's 10 times 6 minus 1. 10 times 6 is 60. Minus 1 is 59. There we go. Okay, let's move to a lesser shade of gray. I guess black is a shade of gray. I don't know. 49 divided by 7. Remember, if you can divide, that's easier than multiplying. 49 divided by 7, that is 7. And notice I put dots instead of x's because when you start actually dealing with x's and you're solving for x, you don't want to use x and times as x because then you can get them confused. So I like to use dots to represent the fact that I am multiplying instead. And this would be 60 over 10 because 2 times 5 is 10. It really doesn't matter what order you do all this stuff in because notice every single thing we're doing here is either multiply or divide. So you can do it in any order you want. I could divide 60 by 2 first and get 30, and then it would be 30 divided by 5, which is 6. Spoiler, because 60 divided by 10 is also 6. Does not matter. Everything is being multiplied and divided here. So there's really no wrong way to do it. Unless you tried to divide like 60 by 2 and got 30 and then did 30 times 5 instead. So there are wrong ways to do it, but as long as you do the right kind of operation and you put the number in the right place afterwards, you're good. There's no wrong way to do all that because everything in 24 here was all being multiplied and divided. All right, next shade of gray. And we're on 25. And I believe we have the answers here. Yeah, we're done here. Yeah, look at that. By the way, if you didn't know this, I think I mentioned this on the last video I did, but every Kuta worksheet that is readily available to the public has the answers in it. So if you were given a worksheet by your teacher and it did not have the answers in it, that's because they only printed off the first page or the first 2 pages in this case. Right, first 2 pages. Page 1, page 2. That's what you got. The teacher kept this part for themselves. Ha ha ha. But notice there's only answers in there, which is why if your teacher is smart, they'll be like, some of my students might look this up. So I'm going to tell my students I want them to show their work. And maybe they want you to show your work anyways because they want to see that you're doing all the right steps. But that's why I'm showing you the work. You now have the work. Now, I wouldn't just use it and copy it and stuff because that might get you 100 on the worksheet, but then test comes around and you can't look up a YouTube video in the test unless your teacher wants you to do that too. And then that's a whole different conversation. But if you're on the test, you can't just look stuff up on YouTube and find all the answers like you did just now here. So you do want to kind of know what's going on, which is why I'm explaining it as I go. So hopefully this video has been helpful. If it has been, give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that cool stuff that YouTubers are supposed to say. I'm not actually that cool, but I guess asking for all that stuff like YouTubers typically do is supposed to make me slightly more cool. I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, so we have 2 plus 12 because I need to multiply first. PEMDAS, right? PEMDAS. So PEMDAS. Also, if you haven't gotten my awesome free guide, the 5 math mistakes that everyone makes and how to avoid them, it's free. It's on my website. It's a great resource to use so that you can know how to just kind of be on the path to, getting good grades in class. So, good resource. I would check it out for sure. No parentheses inside the parentheses. We're not doing second layer Inception stuff. No exponents either, but I just did multiply. I just did 6 times 2 inside of the parentheses, inside of the guy's mind here. There's no division. There is quite a bit of addition, though. 2 plus 12 plus 2. 2 plus 12 is 14, plus 2 is 16. I'm going to just do all the addition all at once there. So I just did addition. And then there's some subtraction. I can't say subtraction, apparently. There is some subtraction to do. Now I just sound like I'm trying to be fancy. 16 minus 4 is 12. Big facts. And then slash that. Okay, so then we're done. Once we've done all the things in the dream layer of PEMDAS, we can slash the P in PEMDAS. I did that earlier, but I didn't really explain what I was doing, so figured I would do that this time. No ease. We do have an M. Multiply. 12 times 2 is 24. All right, and then do I have another shade of gray? I do have several more shades of gray. Man, they have a lot of shades of gray options. It's kind of weird, actually, because I don't imagine people wanting to select a particular shade of gray to work on something. But I don't know. To each his own, I guess. 5 minus 1 would be 4. So this is 8 over 4 times. Let's go ahead and deal with that other parentheses while we're at it. 3 plus 6 is 9 times 3. Look at that. I did both parentheses. You don't have to do them one at a time, as long as they don't conflict with something else. Those two parentheses thingies were like separate. They're not a parentheses inside of a parentheses. They're two separate parentheses. So yeah, why not? 8 divided by 4, that's 2. Remember, divide first if it's able to be done, if it doesn't give you a decimal or fraction. Times 9 times 3. 2 times 9. Well, let's save this for last, actually, because remember, timesing by 2 is just doubling. You should be pretty good at doubling. If you're not, I would practice doubling things. 9 times 3 is 27. Times 2, if I double it, it would be in the 50s because 25 doubled is 50, so it's more than 25 is going to be more than 50. 50. 7 doubled is 14, so 54. Whew! That was quite the last question. So that brings me to the end of this particular video. I hope this was helpful. Again, if it has been, go ahead and like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you haven't gotten that free guide, highly suggest grabbing it. It's awesome. Oh, and in the future, I'm going to be sending out weekly emails to the people that are subscribed to my email list so that you can see the new YouTube content I'm putting out. And when I develop more awesome free resources, I'm going to be releasing those only to people that are on my email list, just as an extra bonus for being on there. And that's kind of generally just what I want to do, is just kind of like make a ton of awesome free resources for people that are in that email subscriber list. So anyways, hope this is helpful, and I'll see you again.